Welcome to LOA Today. Excuse me, Walt Thiessen and Shelly Epperly here. Today is Monday, April the 1st, 2019. Happy April Fool's Day. It is 8 p.m. in New York, 5 p.m. in Los Angeles. It's after midnight, 1 a.m. actually in London. Sydney, Australia is around midnight. But wherever you are in the world, thank you for joining us for another episode of LOA Today. Your daily dose of happy. And I'm happy that Shelly is back. And she actually came up with a good topic this week, one that kind of popped up all over the place for her. I think it probably pops up for most people, Shelly. I mean, if you really think about it, everybody is dealing with intentions all the time. But good idea to come up with that. I mean, was there something particular that kind of cued it in your mind, or was it just you just see it everywhere?
I've been watching Gary V. It's like Vanderstock or something. He's like kind of a guru marketer person, and he just is all about the law of attraction. And he was just talking about your intentions, and you know, if you're out to be in business, what are your intentions? Are your intentions just to make money? Or are your intentions to enjoy yourself and do what you love? And because if you're just after the money, you can make the money, but are you going to have fun doing it? You know, that kind of thing. So, and he's a really intense person, and I just appreciated that he also was like, you don't have to have the hustle that I have. This is just who I am and how I am, you know. So this is my intention, is to be this totally energetic, you know, person. But you know, everybody has their different, you know, there's people that heal chakras and they're very calm and mellow, and you know, so yeah. So anyways, yeah, that's kind of why I got into it, and I've just been thinking about it. My head's always just kind of in an entrepreneurial state of thinking different ways to up my business or do a different business, and I'm just like, what are my intentions with that? Yeah. Is it just the money, or is it something that I would really enjoy doing and, you know, helping other people, or, you know, whatever?
Oh, it's a great question. I mean, I had actually two online meetings, I guess you could call them, today after the podcast this morning with Louis D'Souza. First one, he introduced me to his brother, who has a very interesting marketing model that he follows, really, really interesting, and the intentions that were, speaking of intentions, the intentions that I had going into it was, okay, let's look at this model, because I've been looking for ways to monetize what I do here. I mean, I don't pay anybody, I don't charge anybody for, you know, listening to the podcast or anything like that. So, you know, I'm already doing this, but it was really nice if I could make some money, and he had a really interesting take on that. And then the other one, some of our listeners will remember Dan Mangina actually came in to sit in for Steve Rowell a few weeks back. Dan is actually Steve's coach, and Dan has this thing going on that he'd been sharing with people, and so I did like a call with him, and he was talking about that, and that was one of my key points that I mentioned. And he did most of the talking, actually, but one of my key points was I'm always interested in what makes me feel good, what do I love, what do I enjoy, because I've spent so much of my life doing things that I didn't really enjoy doing, that I was good at, but that I could get paid for, but I just didn't enjoy doing them. And now I'm all about, I need to have something that I enjoy doing. So my intention going into the meeting was, I'm really only interested in either of those meetings if they can feed me doing what I love doing. And both of them found a way to do that. So now there's law of attraction, right? You put out the intention that you want to have information coming back to you about, okay, well, how can I pursue something that produces income for me, but also is what I love doing? And I got it twice. I got it twice over.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Which is the way law of attraction works, actually, now that I think about it, because the universe doesn't usually just send you one thing. It sends you like a stream of things, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and it always sends, for me, when I get in that place, it always sends me a stream of things, and not all of those things are things that I want. It just I just feel like I start getting all these balls thrown at me, and I'm like, oh, I'll catch that one, I'll catch that one, you know what I mean?
Well, we get to decide. That's the whole point. Yes, I want that one. No, I don't want that one. Yes, I'll take that. No, I don't want that one. You know, we get to filter out which ones do we take, which ones do we say no, thank you to. Which is
well, I think in the beginning, when you're learning about the law of attraction and how to use it to your advantage, a lot of people think that they have to take on everything that comes their way because they're attracting it. You know what I mean? and then they get kind of overwhelmed, and then nothing works, and then they're like, this isn't working. And it's like, no, you don't have to take everything that comes your way. You're just getting all these options now, which is what you asked for. You wanted opportunities, you wanted resources, and here's a whole bunch, and, you know, take what feels good.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, that's true. And by the way, this is a Q&A, so feel free to add questions if you're listening to the live stream into the comments section. If you're listening to the podcast, we like to say this every once in a while. Just because you're listening to the pre-recorded podcast doesn't mean you can't send questions. It just means we won't be able to answer them until next time. But we're glad to do that. So, you know, if you have something you want us to address on a podcast, send us a message. You know, send it through the website. Send an email to me. My email is walt@latoday.net. Send it through social media. But whatever you do, just, you know, shout out to us and say, hey, this is something that I'm dealing with. And you can either ask it just of me directly, or you can say, this is something I'd like you to address on the podcast, and we'd be glad to do that. Nasha actually has us kind of kicked off here. And so I'm going to be curious, first of all, to see, Shelly, how you tie this into intention, but also I'm curious to see what you're going to say. Nasha says, how does one address one's family calling you zero because I failed all the time? I think one means her in this case. So she feels like she's failing all the time, so her family is calling her zero, which is an interesting thing to say. But how would you handle that?
I just think with other people that it's important to set boundaries. Even family, even people that you live with, as hard as that can be. And, you know, as far as intentions, if your intentions are to be respected, then you wouldn't tolerate that. You know what I mean?
Right.
You wouldn't, you would find a way to rise above that and be a better person. Not saying that you have to be a better person to prove them all wrong or whatever. You need to do it for you. Mm-hmm. You know, that's another thing with intentions, is it's not about what everybody else intends you to do. It's your intentions, what makes you feel better, what makes, you know, and I did a little research this afternoon, and what I liked about the word intention is because it kind of has a double meaning, because it's what you intend consciously, what you're kind of after, and it's also your intentions with other people. You know, you can look at it both ways. Like, my intentions are, I want to make a better business, or I want to grow my business, or I want to, you know, get my body better, or, you know, whatever. Mm-hmm. And you can also use it like, my intentions with this conversation are to have a pleasant conversation and not get into, you know, any drama or whatever. And so I just remember my aunt and my grandma were living together. The situation just kind of happened, and they ended up in a home together, and my aunt was essentially taking care of my grandma, and my grandma was just a very negative person, and she was always complaining, and you know, my aunt's like, I feel like I've given up my life for this. Like, I'm here as much as I can. I still have to work, you know, and my grandma was just like, you don't ever sit down with me, and you know, it was like, no matter what my aunt did, it wasn't enough. Right. And so she was seeing a counselor to kind of work through that, because it was becoming miserable. Her life was becoming miserable because of this. And the counselor just suggested that as soon as my grandmother would start doing that, to just get up and leave the room. Don't say anything, don't react, don't respond. Just have your reaction be to just leave. And as she did that, you know, at first it was just really frustrating, but as she did that, eventually my grandma just stopped doing it.
Yes.
Because she would lose her every time she started complaining, or, you know, yep. You trying to guilt trip her or whatever. She would just get up and walk away and go do something she enjoyed, yep. and it worked. It worked so good. So sure. I would say that might be a good thing to do, is just to get up and leave the room, or if you're visiting them or they're visiting you, just say, I think it's a good time for you to leave, or I'm going to leave now, or, you know, and it doesn't have to be like this dramatic thing. You could just get up and say, oh, I have to use the restroom, or I need to go check on the bread, or, you know, I don't know, whatever, you know, to get away from it, but just to start making that a habit where it doesn't even happen consciously for them. They just start, it's just they don't want to lose you, so they stay on their conversations or whatever. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you're right. A few other ideas that I was thinking of while we were talking there is when you do make that move to leave the room, yes, you can do it just by making an excuse of some kind, but you can also say, I'll be back when you're feeling a little bit better. And just remind them that, they're responsible for their own behavior. They're responsible for their own attitude. They're responsible for how they're feeling. It's not up to you to be responsible for their feeling. It's almost like you want to make it clear to them, but even more than that, you want to make it clear to yourself. Because if it's clear to yourself,
right.
if you really believe it, then first of all, you're not going to be as affected by what they're saying. I mean, these kind of difficulty, this kind of problem crops up because we attach importance to what somebody else is saying, even if it's somebody who we don't necessarily respect or we don't necessarily feel good about, but we still attach importance to what they're saying. And if you think about it that way, you say, why am I doing that? I mean, it's one thing to attach importance to something that's said by somebody who is normally kind to me and I'm like close to. Okay, that would be one thing. But someone who treats me bad? No, not happening. That's the way I would look at it. No, you either treat me right or I'm just not staying in the room. Very simple. The other thought that comes to my mind, you mentioned intentions. When you put it out there, when you set the intention that you want to be treated with respect, like you said, you have to set the boundary. Setting the boundary means saying either overtly through your words or indirectly through your actions. It's saying, yes, my intention is I'm going to be treated with respect by you, and if you choose not to treat me with respect, I'm going to draw the line and I'm going to leave the room. I might even say something on the way out. But the last thing I'm going to do is put up with it. Doesn't mean you want to turn it into a big fight. You're right. You don't want to dramatize it. But you can make it firm. You can make a firm statement like, nope, that's not happening. You might want to rethink that approach, but that's not working. That doesn't work for me. There was a great thing that happened when my niece, Michaela, who is now a married woman, when she was about 5 or 6, something like that, we were living near where she and my sister lived in Virginia at the time. It was on a beautiful lake. And Michaela came over to visit. And at the very beginning of her visit, I don't even remember what the source of it was, but she had a little tantrum. Not a big one, just a little one, like a little hissy fit kind of a thing. And I'm in the kitchen, and Louise is sitting over at the dining room table, and Michaela is sitting in the living room on the floor, which is right in her line of vision for both of us. And she's doing this little tantrum thing. And after about 30 seconds of it, she kind of stopped and took stock to see where we're at. I just looked over at Louise and I said, is this working for you? And she looked back at me and she said, no. Is it working for you? I said, no, not really. And so we just ignored her. And she didn't have another tantrum for the rest of the time she was there or any other time because it didn't work.
Absolutely.
She didn't get what she was trying to get out of it, which was, I'm going to have a tantrum. If I have a tantrum, then you have to serve my needs. Well, it didn't work. Nice try. Thank you for being a contestant on our game. But no, what's going to happen? So, and the other thing I'd recommend too is do it with humor. Especially if you have a tendency to place too much attention and too much emphasis on what someone else is thinking about you. If you have that tendency, when you decide to not accept it, do it in a funny way so that it makes you laugh. Because if you laugh, what are they going to do? What can you do? If the person's laughing, what are you going to do? Oh, you shouldn't be laughing? No one's going to say that. Mm-hmm. If they do say that, it's all the more reason not to stay. Like, okay, I'm going to the other room. Bye. Sayonara. So.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that I would say to Nasha about that is her statement at the end of that, because I'm always a failure, is she's basically stating that about herself. And I would just encourage you to make some small victories. And, if you're trying for the big, huge one out of the gate and you fail, you're going to feel like a failure. But if you start with small baby steps of just what you can do today to make that goal happen, whether it's, if it's your weight, eat better today and don't worry about exercise until tomorrow. And tomorrow, exercise and and only exercise for 5 minutes, and then in a week start exercising for 10 minutes and build it up. Because when you go with the gusto out of the gate, it's such a huge, hard change. The one thing that this guy was saying with the intentions is you don't think about like when you're he compared it to like going to the newsstand getting a newspaper. When you're putting that out there, like this morning after I have my coffee, I'm gonna go to the newsstand and get the newspaper. You don't then fret about how you're gonna get across the street, or are you gonna have the $1.25, or are they gonna have the newspaper? Am I gonna be able to get it back to the house? It's like no, you just know that you're gonna go to the newsstand. But when you put a goal out that you've never done before, you get into that fretting. So start small, something that's totally doable right now, and then work into it. And when you get that done, you're like, oh, okay, I can do that. And then you just keep stepping it up levels, and pretty soon you're at that big thing, and you're like, that was awesome. I did it.
Yeah.
So I would encourage her to do that. So and to then be very aware of those milestones and those steps that you've taken and succeeded at, and make that a big deal, and talk about that, and let all that failure crap go. Because all failure is lessons. If you haven't learned from those failures, then you're doing it wrong. Start learning new ways to do things. So
not to say that you're doing it wrong, you're doing it that's going to continue the pattern. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
it's not wrong. It's just, well, it's just what you want. That's all. It's not wrong.
Yeah. It's not what you prefer.
Right, exactly. Say. Yeah, that's not preferred. That's it. Actually, Susie said it pretty well. Susie said, Nash, I believe you would greatly benefit from not caring about what they think of you or what they express negatively toward you. Self-love is the best love. And that's really the point. It's pretty. In fact, Nasha followed up with some comments. She says, I walk in peace. Nothing stops them. I've done all that I do. I've set my boundaries. I respect. They sometimes will apologize, but every time it's repeated. All those statements indicate that you care about what their responses are.
Yeah.
Stop caring. Stop caring about what the responses are. See, every time that you care like that, you're putting out the intention that you want them to give you more reasons to care like that. Every time that you say to yourself or to them or to us, yes, I want them to apologize. I set my boundaries, but they don't always respect it. They don't always apologize. They don't always respond. Every one of those statements is saying, send me more opportunities for them to not respond the way I want them to respond. And the only way to break that pattern is to stop caring about what they're saying. Literally, just stop caring. So that it's not that you're going to be mad at them or that you're going to be angry toward them, just that you're going to be indifferent. It just doesn't make any difference what they just said. Because if you can get to that place, where it just doesn't even matter, they'll give up quick. Because they won't be getting any of the energy they used to get before. Right now they get energy from you. Right now they get the energy of, oh, yeah, okay, I just pushed her buttons and she's not talking to me, but I can just tell it got to her, and so I'm getting my jollies this way. I'm getting my feeling of power, I'm getting my feeling of control because she's responding to it, even if she's not responding. I can tell she's responding. But if you start putting it out there that I don't care, that it's just not important, all of a sudden, all that energy goes away. And it doesn't work.
Yeah. And the truth is with that is people that pick at other people like that are so insecure, and that's why they're doing it. Because they're doing it to make themselves feel superior. And Nasha, if you're setting boundaries and they're not respecting them, you're not setting boundaries. And if they're apologizing without changing their behavior, it's not an apology. It's just another in to do the same thing to you again. So set boundaries that you totally stick with.
Remember, a boundary is something that's internal. I mean, we tend to think about it in terms of setting a boundary to stop them, but it's really an internal boundary. It's saying nothing shall pass that boundary into me. It's just not going to get in. Not going to allow it in.
Yeah.
That's it. End of discussion.
Yeah, I don't have anybody in my life that would ever tell me things like that. And I've had people that have tried, have come into my life and tried. But that just isn't a part of my tribe, basically.
Alex posted something here. She says, "But why do you care?" And then she signed it, Alex King, which is great because that's exactly Alex all over. It's a great question. Why do you care? Why is it that important? Who cares what they say? It doesn't. If they said that fish are falling out of the sky, why would you care? If they said, every person they've ever seen is one-eyed, why would you care? You know that the stuff that comes out of their mouth is worth paying attention to. Why would you care? It just doesn't make any sense to pay attention or to care about what they're saying. Because you never get any good, or rarely. Every once in a while they give you just a little bit to string you along. Oh, we'll give her an apology this time. Stop caring.
Yeah.
Just stop. Do something else.
Yeah.
Read a book. Do something. Look on the phone for something. Anything. Just take your attention, rip your attention away from them. Completely. 100%. Best strategy. Yeah.
For sure.
Oh, and Alex also says, I know it hurts, but you have to know that they don't matter on your journey. Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
And not should acknowledge it. She also said, yeah, that's true. It is true. The thing about other people is they matter to you when it's appropriate for them to matter to you. And that's the only time. If it's appropriate for them to matter to you, then they do. Mm-hmm. And the rest of the time, they just don't. I mean, there are a lot of people in my life that I don't care about. I know that sounds strange to say, but there are.
No, it's totally true. It's totally true.
I just don't care, And the funny thing is, they go away. They actually aren't in my. I probably should amend my statement. I said they're in my life. They're actually not in my life anymore. They went away. Mm-hmm. They went away entirely. So they were in my life at one point. And,
right.
Just they're not there anymore. They go away. It's kind of like in The Secret. Remember in The Secret, the homosexual guy who was being counseled by one of the presenters? Yeah. And he was constantly having people, pull nasty pranks on him and say mean things and so forth. Even beat him up, that kind of thing. And then he just changed his attitude about the whole thing, just kind of tuned out what they were doing and focused on what he wanted instead. And they literally disappeared. They either transferred out or they just kind of removed themselves from the environment almost magically. That's the way it works.
And it happens like that. Because your state, your energy changes and they don't really know what to do with that. So they just kind of disappear and the universe matches your intentions in that situation.
Exactly.
And moves them to a different, like with him, it was like they either stopped doing it or they moved to a different department or they got fired or left their job and they just weren't there anymore. They just disappeared. And when he was out on the street, there was people saying hi to him and smiling at him and, instead of, accosting him and calling him names and stuff. And it's just like, it happens like that. It's so amazing. I've always been a person that I joke about just being spoiled rotten, but I just always got what I wanted, kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. And I mean, not just being totally rotten, but I always demanded what I wanted in life, and because of that, I just don't tolerate a lot. And I've had, I had like a high school friend, we were just talking about her yesterday, and she just like, so horrible to me, and everybody around me saw it. And until I met my husband and I introduced her to my husband, and she didn't like my husband, I haven't talked to her in 25 years because she didn't like my husband.
That's fun.
And like we were talking about, we were at my brother's, and my mom was there and everything, and my brother was like, "Oh man, she was such a and I was like, "Yeah, I know, I just didn't see it." And my mom was just like, She goes, "I gave you your freedom because I knew you needed to figure it out." But I just was so over that kid, And Scott was just like, yeah, she was talking down to Shelly, and I was just like, enough. I just went off on her. And she literally left that scene crying, and I have not seen her since. It's like, but like, I just don't know, I don't like hanging out with people that are mean to me, and I don't like hanging out with people that make me uncomfortable, and so
You don't put up with it,
you know,
that's all.
yeah, and you just see all those people on Facebook, and they're like, oh, these fake people, or someone took advantage of me, or I trusted them and they stole from me, and it's like, okay, well then don't ever let them in your house again.
Right.
Like, that would be it for me. If I had somebody that came over and I welcomed them into my house, and then I realized they stole something out of my house, that's it. Don't ever even ask to come over to my house again. You will never be invited. Like, and people will just bring those people back and back and back, and then wonder what happens. It's like, what are you doing? Don't.
There was a post, one of the many posts that you see on the Law of Attraction Changed My Life group by someone who posted something like this. She says, there's this guy in her life, and he's broken her heart 3 times. And she didn't notice what she was saying. She didn't notice the import of it. It was very clear to her that it was a shock each time. And of course, anybody else, reading it was saying to themselves, "Why did you let him back the last 2 times, or even the last time? Maybe you gave him an extra chance. But how many chances are you going to give this guy? Because he's breaking your heart every single time. Like, geez, there's a message in there somewhere."
Yeah.
But she didn't see it.
Was that on Law of Attraction Changed My Life?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just saw that. I think I responded to it too. Yeah, I was just like, don't do it anymore. Stop it.
It's kind of like the story about the kid who touched the burner and burned his finger. Oh, I burned my finger. Well, don't do that anymore. It really hurts when you do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Or the doctor joke. Doctor, hurts whenever I raise my arm like that. The doctor says, well, don't raise your arm like that.
Raise your arm like that. I love it.
Intentions.
Oh,
This is a good topic. Intentions are really important because the way Abraham explains it is really, really good. The intention that you put out there becomes a vibration, right? And that vibration becomes a signal, in a sense, because it's a thought with a feeling attached to it. And it sends out a signal, and the signal sends back other thought-feeling combinations or physical combinations that match that vibration. So keep putting out there the vibration. I don't want you to treat me badly, but I'm going to keep focusing on the fact that you're treating me badly. The universe is going to say, yes, okay, I got it. The vibration of that is, while you're not paying any attention to anybody who's treating you badly, nevertheless, you're paying attention, so therefore we're going to send you more people who are treating you badly. It's very fair. It's exactly what you put out there. Now, is that the way you think about it? But no, it's not, but that's what the intention is. The intention is, I want people to treat me well, and if they don't treat me well, I'm going to focus on it. That's an intention.
Yeah. And that's the difference between the affirmation that you put out there and the feeling that you put out there. Because you can say, I don't want people to treat me badly. But in that statement, you're assuming that people treat you badly. Mm-hmm. But if you put out there, I want people to treat me good and well and treat me with love and respect, the universe is, and then when you put that out there in that thought and you feel that way,
yes,
you start getting out there and noticing every person that smiles at you, every person that opens a door for you, every person that, you're in line at the coffee and somebody pays for your coffee, you get a compliment on your earrings or whatever it is, and the people close in your life that tell you how good you look today, blah, 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 blah. Those are the feelings. Then you start getting the feelings, and then that becomes your vibration. You start acting on that. Well, thank you. A lot of people that want people to treat them well don't know how to take that.
Talk about that for a second.
Well, like you hear people say, I don't really like it when people make a big deal about me or thank me or whatever. I don't really know how to take that, or I'm not good at taking compliments. And it's like, no, take those compliments, because when you don't act on that, you're stepping back and saying, I don't want people to give me compliments.
My cat.
Oh, there
Give
he
me
is.
more time. Yep, there he is. He's being a pain. He stood right in front of my monitor, so I couldn't even see what the comment was that Nasha had left, so I had to move him.
He's like, you are going to pay attention to me.
He's going to go in the other room. I'm going to let you make another comment so I can put him in the other room. So just tell her one more thing.
Yeah, so just the power of intention is, the things I wrote down about this is your thoughts, feelings, and actions create your vibration. So those vibrations become your intention. I don't know if you probably can't hear me. There you are.
No, that was an excellent example of setting the intention. My intention was, there was no way I was going to put up with that. Just absolutely no way. Not even slightly. And what was interesting about it, he was trying to get attention and affection from me. And I'm in the middle of doing a podcast. Like, bud, no, sorry, you're out of here. Go away.
After we were done with the podcast last week, he did that. The whole time you and I were talking after the podcast, he was running into your mic and knocking stuff down off of your...
He's not quite as fast as humans in terms of learning that the pattern doesn't work. He is learning. It's working less often for him, and you can tell he's getting ticked off about it. And every time he gets ticked off, I said, "Oh, you're done yet?"
I love it. Cassie's so funny. We had a cat that would sit up on top of the TV because she thought everybody was looking at her.
I love it. That's
great. She just sits there. Oh my God. Like, we're not watching you, cat. We're watching the television.
Nasha added some more information. She said, the thing is, it really did hurt me because coming from my mom, who I thought believed in me, maybe she made me feel like I am a zero. She said, if you go anyway, you will fail. I went back to my room and thought about all I tried doing, and for me, I didn't fail. It taught me a lesson, but maybe somewhere it was like, maybe I have to step out, become a hero, and enough of this crap. Well, fine, stepping out is great, but let's go back to the first statement. It really did hurt me. The only reason it hurt you is because you assigned importance to her, to what she says. That's the thing. And you did it based on, what you said because you thought that she believed in you. So you put importance on her words because you thought that she believed in you. Well, it's fine for you to think perhaps that she believes in you. But if you think that she believes in you, and then she comes and says something that's hurtful, first thing I would do, very, very first thing I would do, is reevaluate how much she believes in you. And just say, well, I guess she doesn't believe me all that much. Well, if she doesn't believe in me all that much, that kind of takes all the sting away, because I'm not attaching anything more to what she says from now on. It's like, okay, if that's the way you're going to be, you basically just contradicted yourself. If you think I'm going to take that as a way of being hurt, you got nothing coming. But that's not the way you did it. The way you did it was you decided you were going to be hurt. And that's the key. That is a decision. It's not something that your mom placed on you. It's not something that your mom could make you feel. Because you get to decide, we get to decide everything we're going to feel. We get to decide what the reaction is going to be to everything. So when you said, it really did hurt me, what you meant by that was, you had no control over your reaction. It was in your mom's control. You gave up your power to your mom.
Yeah, and I think that the thing that you have to remember what's going on with on your mom's end of it is, I mean, some of her intention is obviously hurtful because it's pretty rare to tell your own child that they're a zero and a failure and all that. Yeah. But you are not doing things the way she wants you to do them. So she is looking at what you are doing as a failure.
Oops. I think we just... you just froze up for a second. Your image froze up for a second there. So complete your thought that you were just saying.
Okay, so what she's saying to you is a reflection on her, not you.
Right.
And that's like the truth about anybody that says anything bad about you. Even if it is truthful, it's a reflection on them, not on you.
Yes.
Because how you treat people is a reflection on you. That's the only gauge with that, is how you treat her back is a reflection on you.
I love what Abraham says about these things, and they have a lot of ways of saying it, but one particular way comes to mind. They talk about how there are not enough different ways for you to stand on your head in order to improve the way they feel.
Right.
And yet that's what so often we do. We assume responsibility for how someone else feels. And once we've done that and they've gotten the measure of it, they realize, well, they can just keep messing with us all they want to. And they never have to be satisfied. And so they won't be. They will never be satisfied until you take that away from them. And the way you take it away from them is by saying, I'm not caring with what you're saying. I'm just not going to pay any power into it. I'm not going to give any importance to it. And therefore you can't hurt me. Because you've clearly proven through your past actions and your behaviors that I can't trust anything you're saying. So I'm not going to trust it. That doesn't mean I'm going to hate you. It just means you've lost my trust. You want my trust, you got to earn it back. But I'm certainly not going to give it to you free now. You stepped on it too many times. So, okay, if that's really what you want to do, you really want to step on my trust, okay. But that's the price to pay. The price to pay is I'm not giving you any quarter anymore. I'm not giving you any room to do your little thing that you're doing, to do your little dance that you're doing with me, your little game, your little power trip. Sorry, I'm not playing.
Yeah, one thing I would ask yourself, Nasha, is what are your intentions to be around her at this point?
Good question. Oh, she actually gave us a few more details here. Let me see what she said here. Of course, all my attempts to put it into the larger type makes it come out a little bit harder. But okay, she says... Oh, I missed it. I need a better way to be able to do the type. Actually, what I need is Facebook to actually improve the size of their font. If they did that, then I could really read this stuff. She says is, the thing is, no, it's the same thing. All right, I'm going to see if I can read it off the Facebook. It says, I am allowed to do anything she wants. She wants me to wait in the room for a prince from the sky. It really... I'm having trouble understanding what you're saying. I now really think it's just like all of my other family members. Well, okay, that last one, the fact that you think it's like all of your other family members, if they're all reacting the same way to you, it means you're putting out the same vibration to all of them. I'm not quite sure what you were trying to say in that comment, but that last part is fairly clear. If all of your family members are reacting the same way, you're putting out the same vibration to all of them, and that vibration is a combination of my feelings are dependent on how you talk, so you have power over me, and I'm going to keep complaining for as long as you use that power to hurt me. And so you've turned it in. Your intention is pretty clear. That's a very clear intention. It's not one that I would choose, but it's a very clear intention. I want to constantly have opportunities and situations come up. That's my intention. And those situations are going to be opportunities for me to feel hurt over what somebody else says in my family. And every member of my family is going to get to play that.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing. That's not them. That's you. That's you putting out a vibration that's constant. I mean, it's pretty clear. If everybody's responding the same way, you're putting out that vibration to them. That's you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And that's a big pill to swallow. To when everybody's being rude and mean to you, to take that on as, oh, that's all my fault, and when everybody's being mean to me. But it's true. You create your reality by the way you think, feel, and act. Period. And until you decide not to tolerate that, and you've had enough, and you do what it takes to get out of that situation, it will continue to happen. It just will. You have to change you. You can't change them. None of them will ever change the way you want them to, just like you are not going to succeed the way they want you to. It's just It sounds, what you were talking about with the prince or whatever, I just caught a little bit of that. It sounds like mom just wants you to get married and have a family and be a decent woman like you're supposed to, and you're not doing that, and that's frustrating her. That's just my opinion.
And
just throwing that out there.
She said, Walter, don't talk about my family if you remember. I said, yeah, I understand you don't talk about them, but you're thinking about them, you're focused on them, and they know it. How do we know that you're focusing on them? Look at all the things you're talking about how they hurt you. Clearly you're focusing on them. So it isn't so much whether you're talking to them, it's are you focusing on them? In other words, where are your thoughts and your feelings combined coming into it?
This whole question and answer is clearly where you're coming from with them.
Yeah. Exactly. And it's like you said, if you want to know what you're putting out there, just look at the results. The results are very clear. They're telling you very, very consistently what you're putting out there. And that's the beauty of the law of attraction. It always responds to what we put out there. We may not like the fact that it does that. There's sometimes we say, oh, darn, I can't get away with anything. But it's true. It just keeps coming back with what it is that I put out there. There have been a few days lately in the last week or so where you know how you have those days where you wake up and you can tell you're in that not good place. And, and you just know how it's all going to go. That's the day I like to kind of climb into a shell and not interact with anybody because I know I'm going to be toxic. But you have to have that self-knowledge, that self-awareness about what you're putting out there. And if you don't like the result, then you got to change it. And you change it with your focus. You change it by no longer focusing on those results that you don't like and focusing instead on what you do like. And you just keep it there. It's kind of like the joke. Have you ever seen The Far Side? This is like my favorite Far Side cartoon of all time. And I've told this one many times. But it's the shot of the guy who's in hell. And there are fires of hell are all over the place. And there are these two devils who are supervising this guy who is sweeping the floor in hell. And the guy who's sweeping the floor in hell is whistling. He's just having a grand old time.
Okay, yeah.
And the devils are saying, I don't think we're getting through to this guy. That's the point. That's precisely the point. They aren't getting through because he's not letting them in. He is insisting that even though he's got hell going on around him, he's just having a grand old time. And I guarantee you, if you saw the next frame would be either hell freezing over or him leaving hell. Because the two can't mix. He can't actually stay there. Eventually, that contrary vibration has to drive it all apart.
The Far Side's so good.
I love The Far Side.
I used to have like the whole book when I was a kid. It's so funny.
I had the entire collection, all the books. I had all of them. I had a complete treasury. I had all of it. Far Side. I was sad the day that Gary Larson gave up doing that cartoon, but he was brilliant.
Yeah, good stuff.
Not good. I like that. The rest of my family members are not human. That's an improvement. Good. You're on the right track. Absolutely. They're not human. They don't deserve human attention. Good. Now you're starting to change your mind. Good. Keep going in that direction. Much, much better than, oh, geez, they hurt me. Much, much better. Al saying, truly ask yourself, why do I care? Your mom is just another person. Yes, she's your mom. She's still just a person.
Yeah. I have to remember that when I'm being a mom.
Asha's asking the right question now. She's saying, this is frustrating. I don't know how I'm attracting it. Okay, good. How are you attracting it? Focusing on it. Lots and lots of focus. All you have to do is just change your focus to something else, anything else that's not them.
You are in your bedroom, because she said, at one point, she said she went to her bedroom and then her mom called her out to color her hair or something. When you're in your bedroom and you have to go out and interact with the rest of the family or your mom or whoever's there in your home, are you dreading it or are you excited about what's going to come from it? Are you expecting it to go bad and say mean things to you? Or are you going out there expecting her to be supportive of the new way you did your hair, or what you're wearing, or what you're going to do today? That's the difference. pure and simple. That's the difference. What you expect, what you put out, your thoughts, feelings, and actions. Period.
And even if you can't get to the point where you're expecting good things to come because you're afraid that something bad will come and then you react to it, okay, settle for indifferent. Settle for I don't care. I really don't care.
Something a little bit better than what's going on.
Yeah. You don't have to do it all in one step. Do it in small steps. But
I'm just saying that's the answer.
Yeah.
That's the answer to her question. She doesn't understand why she's attracting it. What are your expectations when you are stepping out of your room into a situation?
Exactly, because those expectations have thoughts and feelings associated with them. That's also what an intention is. Yeah.
Because those scenarios go through our head all the time. They go through our head all the time. You know what? Okay, he's gonna come home from school, and is he gonna, have a bad grade, or is he gonna clean his room like he's supposed to, or is he gonna, put away the dishes and do his chores, or is he just gonna come home and pop down in front of the TV, and I'm gonna be so frustrated with him? Get what you expect. And one thing I say all the time, it's like a go-to, and it works for everything, is this is going to go better than I expect it to.
That's good. I like that.
I say that to myself all the time when I'm in a little spot where I'm doing those scenarios. I'm like, no, it's going to go better than I expect it to go. And I just release it and get on with it. And that just puts a halt to that fretting or that, that scenario that goes through your head or whatever. And it makes you feel better because because when you start doing that all the time, you know that it is going to happen better than you expect because you've seen proof of it already, and it starts going better and better, and it's awesome. So.
And on those first few occasions where you try these new approaches and you're kind of afraid that, they're going to say something anyway, okay, ready for that. When they say something anyway, you get to decide how you're going to react. So decide in advance. If they're ready to say something and they say it, and your first reaction is normally, I'm going to feel hurt by that. What are you going to choose instead for a reaction? I mean, if it were me, my reaction is going to be, shrug my shoulders, move on. In fact, I'm going to put up, if it's me, I'm going to put up a little filter. So the filter is, if anything comes from them that is anything other than supportive, I'm going to behave like I don't hear it. And I'm going to think that I don't hear it. And I'm going to focus on other stuff so I don't hear it. The only thing I'm going to allow into my ears to penetrate, it's not like they won't be saying it. It's just, I'm not going to let it into my ears. The only thing I'll let into my ears is positive stuff. If I don't hear positive stuff, I don't hear it. I'm just turning it out. I'm tuning it out. I'm literally tuning it out. Like I'm tuning radio. Like, nope. They can turn the volume up to full volume. I don't hear it. Just don't even hear it. Just not paying attention to it. And that's the key. You don't pay attention. You literally put your attention on anything else. Anything else. It doesn't matter. You got a whole room full of stuff. Focus on the table. Focus on the chair. Focus on the lamp. Focus on anything else. Do not focus on any negative thing they say. Not even for a split second.
If I was coaching you, Nasha, I would tell you it's time. I'm assuming you're of age where you can move out of your mother's house. I would encourage you to make it your intention to make that happen and get independent from all of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you can move out, if there's a way for you to do that, do it.
And it might seem impossible financially or whatever right now, but intend on those finances. Intend on the situation for you to move out and have your own life and start your own life.
We already know you have a friend in Paris who, if you can get the means to get to Paris, you have a home there. Well, you did it there. You can also find somebody close by.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily have to have money. All you need to have is a friend who you could, share some space with.
Or go to Paris, because that sounds amazing.
Well, she's been trying to manifest the airfare to Paris, and she hasn't been able to do that yet.
Well, that's goes right back to it. What do you expect? Mm-hmm. What do you intend?
This is true. That's true. But start with the stuff that you can believe in. If you've been working on that one for a while, and that one's become kind of like I'm not quite sure about it kind of a thing. I'm not confident kind of a thing. So, okay, maybe it's a little bit too far out to reach for right now. Reach for what you can reach for. Can you believe believe that there can be somebody close by who can make something available to you. If you can believe that, then go for that instead. Do it incrementally.
Yeah.
And then go to Paris after you've done that much. But whatever you do, do not give them any more energy, not even a slightest bit of energy on any of those comments that any of them are making. Just give them no attention at all. And don't even think about it. Don't brood on it. When it's done, just shrug your shoulders and say, okay, well, that was done. Sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Especially when they come from people who I don't even respect anymore, because they certainly don't respect me. So forget it. It's just not even important. I'm just not going to pay any attention to it. I'm going to pay attention. I'd rather pay attention to that table. That table is much more interesting to me. That's literally it. It's picking something else that you want to focus on instead of my parents, my family. They don't treat me right. They yell at me. They say nasty things to me. No, stop going there. Don't do it. Don't do it. Go anywhere else. Think about anything else. In fact, here's a trick that U.S. teenagers have learned down pat. And you tell me, Shelly, if you've seen this one before. The kid who doesn't want to pay any attention to this thing that the parent is saying will walk through the room looking at their phone and texting. You won't be able to rip their attention away for anything.
Oh, I've had direct one-on-one conversations with my kids where I've been like, put that away. I am talking to you. You are going to pay attention to me.
And meanwhile, they're going...
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, totally.
So if a U.S. teenager can do it, I'm sure you can do it. You just have to say, nope, not focusing on that. I'm focusing on this instead. Sorry. Have a nice day.
Yep. You'll get there.
You will.
Figure it out.
You can. You can do it. Ooh. She says, Walt, if I move out of here, they will beat me up and get me back. That's part of which the society she lives in is not a happy society. That's for sure. She lives in Pakistan. And there's some bad stuff going on there. But you can still control what you're going to focus your attention on. Even if you can't leave, you can still choose where you're going to focus your attention at all times.
But I just have to say that there are people that leave Pakistan all the time. So you can leave. You just have to intend it. And I know that's a huge, huge intention, but you can do it. And it might not happen tomorrow, and it might not happen in 6 months, but it can happen. I mean, that's part of it too, is seeing people that have actually done it.
Mm-hmm.
There are people in the United States that are from Pakistan.
True.
So
I have some neighbors like
done.
that. Yeah. There are people right here in the complex where I live that are Pakistani. That's true.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure there's people a few doors down, I don't know where they're from, but they have their whole kitchen in their garage. They don't
Really?
cook in the house.
Wow.
They don't cook in the house. And I think that's a Middle Eastern thing.
It could be. I don't know. That could be. Yeah, it all starts with your attention. What are you going to give your attention to? You get to decide at all times. At every moment of the day, you get to decide where your attention is going to be. So when you take control of that attention at all times, well, first of all, they can't hurt you anymore because you get to decide where your attention is going. You don't have to give your attention to people who say nasty things to you anymore. You can literally rip it away and say, sorry, next. Mm-hmm. You treat it like endless number of buses going by. Don't like that bus? Next. Yeah, it's all in the attitude, and that's why you keep the attitude is why you keep drawing them back. It's why you keep getting all those reactions the same way. Your attitude is up until now has been focusing on what you don't want. It's literally that. I mean, it's what it all comes down to. It's focusing on what you want versus focusing on what you don't want. If you don't want behavior X, stop focusing on behavior X and start focusing on Y instead. Change your focus.
And one thing that I would suggest too is if you want to be treated well and with respect, one way to respond to them, if you can't get away from them, like you said that you got upset and you went to your room and your mom called you back out, just start saying super nice things to them. Just bombard them with that. Like, seriously, use it as a game. Because, number one, they can't get mad at you when you're being super nice to them. And number two, you are treating them the way you want to be treated.
Mm-hmm. There's a storyline from a famous television series here in the U.S. called The West Wing, which ran for quite a few years in the late 1990s and early 2000s. Story of people who worked in the West Wing of the White House, worked for the president. And at one point, one of the lead advisors is out on the campaign trail with a candidate who's running for president, and they have this issue come up that they don't want the candidate to address at all. And so they decide what issue they're going to address instead. So every time that a reporter asks them a question about anything else except education, the answer is always going to be about education. And one of the advisors says to him, well, yeah, but they're going to be asking all these questions about this other thing. And his response is, yeah, but none of the answers are going to be about that thing. The candidate can not control the questions, but he can control the answers.
Yeah.
And that's what he did. So every time, and it was a disjointed conversation. The reporters were saying, well, "What do you think about what's going on over in the Middle East right now?" And his answer was, "This is why I'm really pushing for my education plan." Well, yes, but the so-and-so spoke in the UN today, and that's why I think the education plan is the most important. I mean, he wouldn't even play the game. He wouldn't play their game. He kept insisting, no, the topic's going to be this, not that. So,
that's funny.
Yeah. So they can say all the nasty things that they want to, but you just aren't going to respond to them. You're just not going to react to them. You're just going to say, well, bye. And with that thought in mind, we've actually, this is like 1 hour on helping Nasha, so hopefully Nasha got some help out of it. But in the last couple minutes we've got left, I want to make sure I get my messages in. So if you're not yet a subscriber to the podcast, in case you hadn't noticed, every episode is completely different, and you get all of them coming to your smartphone as soon as they get published when you're a subscriber. So become a subscriber. Just go to the homepage of our website, loatoday.net, and you will see a button designed especially for your device right at the top of the page. It says click here, and you click it, you walk through the steps, and it just sets you right up, and you get yourself a subscription, and all the episodes come streaming to your smartphone. And then, as you're watching all the episodes and listening to them, you can share on social media the fact that you're listening to them so that more people can get their daily dose of happy. So please subscribe and share, because that's how we get the message out. And Shelly, anything you want to share in the last minute or so before we say goodnight for the night?
Be aware of your intentions and have a great week.
Yeah.
Happy Monday.
It's all about the intentions, isn't it? Those intentions are vital, and thank God we get to pick them. Thank God we don't have to depend on what somebody else wants our intentions to be. That's what gives us our power. So that's the beauty of it. So pick the right intentions. Pick the ones that are the ones that you want. Don't focus on the ones you don't want. Focus on what you want, because that's where the power is. So, thank you, Shelly. This has been fun. This has been a good session. Thank you for all your insights. We appreciate that.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thanks for having me. I always like doing this.
Thanks to our podcast audience, and thanks to our live stream audience. Thank you, Nasha, too, for sharing your question, and hopefully we gave you some good insights to work with. Something to think about anyway for a bit, because you're so close. I mean, that's one thing I do know. You're really close to getting it completely. You get almost all of it. You just have to do this one little bit here. If you can get this last bit done, you'll have got it, and you'll be a complete deliberate creator. So keep working on it. And the rest of our audience who are working on their stuff, keep working on your stuff too. You're so close. You're getting it. You're to get it. Keep going. And with that thought in mind, we'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.